Is your closet too small for you? Have you always wanted a walk-in closet? I'm Luke and I'm currently standing in our newly completed dream walk-in closet. In my last video, I showed you our original closet space and our design plans for the new primary bathroom and closet suite. This included a total gut reno of our bathroom. Our dream bathroom is just the spa-like vibe we aim for. We've now tripled the size of our closet, added storage and functionality, and increased the value of our home in the process. We had to hire out to do the bathroom build, which ate into our budget. So today I'm going to show you how I built out this closet DIY style. These are our building supplies. We've got 2 bureaus from Ikea, 2 clothing rods, and both 6-foot and 8-foot lumber for our shelving. Before I began the building process, I mapped out everything with a 1/4-inch painter's tape. It's a simple step, but it's also the only way to really feel if the dimensions work before you're committed. We really needed 2 levels of rods, one for jackets and shirts, and the other for pants. So now I've got the closet all measured and marked out. I'm going to do the last bit of demo, removing the former closet shelf behind me, and then get to the exciting part of actually building our walk-in closet. I'm really excited, so time to get started. With the room mapped out, I used a razor blade to cut through the caulking around the old closet shelf support, then peeled off the support strips using a wide spackling knife and wrecking bar. After removing the leftover nails with a hammer, I spackled all the holes left behind. First thing I'm going to do is mark the baseboard where the shelving sides are going to be. They're 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to mark that on the wall here, and then I'm going to end up cutting those sections out using an oscillating multi-tool. A DIY tip, if you don't have one already, I highly recommend getting yourself an oscillating multi-tool. It's incredibly versatile. It makes surgical cuts through your baseboards or clothing rods or any material incredibly easy. With the initial baseboard sections removed, I began installing the side panels for the clothing rods. Each panel needed to be cut down exactly to 70.5 inches so the top shelves could fit beneath the HVAC uniform. I initially tried using wood glue and 1.5-inch screws to secure the panels to the walls. This approach did not work. The panels wouldn't sit flush against the wall. So I pivoted, tracking down where the studs were behind the wall and using 3-inch screws to secure them instead. This, coupled with using pocket screws drilled into the floor, did the trick and set the stage for the rest of the panel installation. I next made more cuts in the baseboard for the 2 middle panels for the clothing rods. The last detail was cutting and trimming down the top shelf. I used my cobalt miter saw this time to cut the boards. This is when I first realized just how uneven the walls were, something that would be a recurring issue throughout the build. With the top shelf fitted, I used a brad nailer to secure the middle panels in place. Then used more pocket screws to tie everything in together. I found that the pocket screws were more effective overall and ditched the brad nailer for the remainder of the build. With the clothing rod panels in place, I did a preliminary install of the upper and lower closet rods so I could test out the clearance. I used my oscillating multi-tool to cut through the metal rods and to sand down the leftover sharp edges. To my relief, the lower rods cleared the floor with just enough room to spare. The next phase was building out and installing the Tarva 5-drawer dressers from Ikea. It took about 2 hours to assemble each dresser. Always be careful to match the layout of their instruction illustrations with their pre-drilled parts. And always make sure you line up the drawers with the roller tracks properly. With the dressers built, I took a cue from other DIYers and skipped attaching the legs to the dresser and instead built out a platform of 2x4s for the dressers to lay on. I initially tried using wood from my garage that was left over from another project, but it was warped and unusable. So I had to get new lumber and restart. This time the base was more stable. I lined up side panels that would also serve as support for shelving, secured the base to studs in the wall using 3-inch screws, and screwed down the platform using 1.5-inch screws. From there, I slid one of the dressers into position. Then secured the dresser to the wall using the wall brackets that came with the dresser, and used 1.5-inch screws to secure them to the side paneling. With the first dresser installed, I got to work cutting and removing the baseboard and building out the base for the second dresser. The 2x4s this time were a little twisted, but I ultimately got them to work. Again, I secured the base to the studs in the wall using 3-inch screws and screwed down the platform using 1.5-inch screws. While trying to secure this dresser to the wall, my drill bit ran into something hard. Metal. Turns out there was another HVAC duct behind the wall on the right side. I checked the left side, but that area was clear. So I had to rely on the side paneling and the left side bracket to keep everything secure. With the dressers in, I worked on removing the last bits of the baseboards and installing the final paneling for the additional shelving and shoe rack. Once the panels were finished, it was time to measure, cut, and install the remaining top shelves. In addition to cutting down the lengths of the top shelves, there ended up being about an 1/8 of an inch variance in the heights of the panels, which required some trimming of one of the panels and adding shims to another. Everything came out level in the end, and I was able to secure the top shelves with pocket screws. With the top shelves in, it was finally time to install the remaining shelves. Each shelf had to be measured and trimmed individually because of the variance in the walls. The first shelf, which would be above our laundry, was the most difficult to install because there was nothing to support it underneath. But for the remaining shelves, I cut support panels at 11¼ inches tall to make the installation process easier. While I was installing the shelves to the left of the second dresser, the spacing of the shelves didn't feel right. That is something we would make adjustments to later. With the main shelves installed, I got to work on the shoe rack. While the majority of the shelving was 16 inches deep, the shoe rack was 12 inches deep. I used a scrap piece from another top shelf and trimmed it down to fit the shoe rack properly. I used a table saw borrowed from a neighbor to cut the board lengthwise. Once all the shelves were installed, we decided we weren't happy with the spacing of the shelves in one corner. So I was able to make some adjustments and I added a fifth shelf. As you can see, all of the clothing rods, bureaus, and shelving are now up and installed and built. I ran into the issue where none of the walls were level. There were a lot of gaps behind the shelves and paneling that need to be addressed. Next steps are filling in those gaps behind the shelves with filler rod. I'm going to add some wood filler, which you can see I've already started doing here and some other places where it was really bad. Then I'll caulk all the seams and sand everything down smooth so it can be primed and painted. Be sure to comment below if you have any questions or comments about this build. Obviously there was a lot in the planning and the building process. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next update on this project. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.